lost his mind. The half-formed Shikaku froze. For one insane heartbeat, Gaara's cracked eyes stared at the giant nine-tailed shape in front of him, and all the madness in his face twisted into something even deeper than rage. Fear. Real fear. His mouth opened wide. No, no. Gamabunta did not waste the moment. The giant toad roared and launched himself forward, slamming his massive head straight into Gaara's transformed body with so much force that the entire clearing shook. Sand exploded in every direction. Trees bent backward. Sasuke had to grab a branch just to keep from being blown away. Naruto did not hesitate. Now! Gamabunta grinned savagely. About time, brat. Naruto shot forward from the toad's head like a black arrow, chakra trailing behind him. Gaara reeled from the impact, his unstable transformation cracking open, and Naruto saw it. The opening. The real body. He moved. Fast. Too fast for Gaara's panic to catch up. Sand rose to protect him, but four shadow clones burst into existence midair and struck from different angles, smashing apart the defense just enough for Naruto to break through. He reached Gaara, grabbed his vest, and drove a fist straight into his face. The sound cracked through the forest. Gaara's eyes went wide. The sand armor around him shattered. And both boys crashed through a tangle of broken branches and slammed into the ground below. For a moment there was only dirt, smoke, and silence. Then Naruto staggered to his feet first. His breathing was ragged. His shoulders were shaking. His right hand was bleeding from split knuckles. But he was standing. Gaara was not. The red-haired Jinchuriki lay in the crater staring upward, stunned, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, the monstrous sand around him crumbling away like a nightmare losing shape. Naruto walked toward him. Every step hurt. Every breath scraped his lungs. But he kept walking. Above them, Sasuke could only stare. He had spent so long chasing strength, defining himself through it, measuring everything by it, that seeing Naruto like this felt unreal. The idiot he once mocked had just stood against a monster and won through sheer will, control, and a level of battle instinct Sasuke had not even realized Naruto possessed. Sakura's hands were pressed over her mouth. She was crying and didn't even know when it started. Kakashi watched from the ridge with one hand slowly tightening around the bark beneath him. Jiraiya exhaled through his nose, eyes fixed on Naruto with a mix of pride and pain. He really did grow up in the dark, the Sannin muttered. Below, Gaara tried to move. Naruto grabbed him by the front of his shirt and yanked him halfway up. Gaara's cracked eyes met his. You, Gaara rasped, voice full of disbelief. Why are you stronger than me? Naruto's expression shifted. Not to cruelty. Not to triumph. To something heavier. Something that made even Gaara pause. Because I'm not alone, Naruto said. Gaara's eyes trembled. Naruto's grip tightened, but his voice lowered. You think I don't know what it feels like? He asked. You think I don't know what it's like when everyone looks at you and sees a monster before they see a person? His face hardened. You think I don't know what it's like to go to sleep angry and wake up lonelier? Gaara's breath hitched. Naruto leaned closer. I know exactly what you are. For the first time in his life, Gaara looked at someone and saw himself. Not the blood. Not the insanity. Not the sand. The child under all of it. Naruto's blue eyes burned. The difference is, he swallowed once, and for a second the old hurt flickered there. I found people worth protecting before the hate inside me swallowed everything. Gaara shook. Because that was it. That was the answer he never had. Not pain. Not killing. Not proving his existence through fear. People. A bond. A reason to stay human. Gaara's lips trembled. I don't understand. Naruto let go and Gaara fell back to the dirt. Then start learning, Naruto said. Before you end up with nothing left inside you. Silence spread through the clearing. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the forest seemed to be listening. Then Gaara turned his face away, eyes wide and unfocused, as if the whole shape of the world had just been cracked open in front of him. Temari and Kankuro burst through the trees seconds later and froze at the sight. Their brother, the monster everyone feared, was on the ground. Naruto Uzumaki was the one standing over him. Temari's fan slipped slightly in her grip. What happened here? Kankuro stared at the destroyed clearing, the cratered earth, the broken sandshell, the giant summon marks, and then at Naruto himself. His jaw dropped. That blonde kid did this? Sasuke landed beside Naruto, bruised and breathing hard, but still refusing to look weak. Sakura followed a moment later, stopping close enough that if Naruto fell, she could catch him. Gaara slowly sat up. Temari tensed. Gaara? He did not answer. He was still staring at Naruto. Not with hate now. Not even with rage. With confusion. With fear. With the beginning of something else. Understanding. Naruto looked away first because suddenly his own legs were threatening to give out. Jiraiya dropped into the clearing. Kakashi followed. The moment Kakashi's eyes landed on the destruction around them, then on Naruto, then on Gaara's broken transformation, the Jonin could not hide it anymore. His eye widened completely. You beat the one-tail transformation. Naruto gave a tired shrug that nearly turned into a stumble. More like punched it until it stopped being a problem. Sakura stared at him with an expression somewhere between relief and disbelief. That is not a normal sentence, she said weakly. Even Kankuro barked out a stunned laugh before catching himself. Jiraiya walked up beside Naruto and put a hand on his shoulder just as the blonde's legs finally buckled. Naruto glared upward. I was fine. You were about 2 seconds from kissing the dirt, Jiraiya said. Naruto tried to argue. Then he realized his whole body was shaking. Then he shut up. Kakashi turned toward Temari and Kankuro. The invasion is over. If the Sand wants any chance at peace talks, you will cooperate now. Temari looked at Gaara. Gaara looked at Naruto. Then, to everyone's shock, he whispered, "We're going back." Temari blinked. Gaara? He stood slowly, still trembling, still looking wrecked, but the bloodlust was gone. I'm going back, he said again, quieter this time. I need to think. Kankuro could not believe what he was hearing. Temari couldn't either. Naruto stared at him for 1 second longer, then turned away. Because part of him understood that expression too well. The trip back to Konoha felt wrong. Too quiet. Too heavy. The smoke over the village was visible long before they passed the broken outer streets. Naruto, riding on the back of one of Jiraiya's summoned toads because his legs were refusing to be useful, felt the knot in his chest tighten with every second. Something was off. The battle was ending. But the village did not feel relieved. It felt wounded. The moment they entered the central district, the answer hit them. Shinobi were moving fast, but not with the sharp urgency of battle anymore. This was the other kind. The kind Naruto had learned in ANBU hallways. The kind that came after bad news. Kakashi stopped one passing operative. What happened? The masked shinobi hesitated. Then bowed his head. The third Hokage is dead. The world tilted. For a second Naruto genuinely thought he had misheard. No. No, that did not fit. The old man was supposed to be there. In the tower. With his pipe. Complaining gently. Smiling like he knew more than he ever said. Naruto slid off the toad before Jiraiya could stop him. What? Kakashi's face had gone still in that way Naruto had learned meant the man was hit hard. The third engaged Orochimaru on the roof, the operative said. He stopped the invasion. But, he lowered his gaze further. He did not survive. Naruto's body moved before his mind did. He ran. Past medics. Past broken walls. Past civilians crying in the streets. past a fallen banner with the Hokage symbol half buried in dust. He ran until he reached the building. Until he saw the roof. Until he saw the shattered tiles and the dark stains and the silence. And then he stopped. Because no matter how much he wanted to, he could not outrun this. His chest tightened so badly it hurt to breathe. I was here. I was in the village. I fought. I won. And I still wasn't there. The thought cut deep. Too deep. Naruto dropped to his knees on the damaged rooftop. No one followed for a moment. No one interrupted. The wind moved across the broken stone. Naruto stared at the blood on the roof and remembered a warm old voice saying his name. He remembered free ramen. He remembered a hand on his head. He remembered being seen, even if only a little, even if not always enough. He should have called me, Naruto whispered. The words came out broken. He should have, Naruto laughed once, a terrible sound. I could have helped. Jiraiya landed behind him, but did not come closer. You would have died, the Sannin said quietly. Naruto clenched both fists so hard his nails bit skin. Then at least he wouldn't have been alone. That answer left Jiraiya silent. Because there was no easy comfort for that kind of grief. Not for a boy who had already buried too much while still being too young to understand how. The funeral happened 3 days later. The whole village came. Black clothes. Quiet voices. Lowered heads. The smell of incense and rain-heavy clouds above the monument stones. Naruto stood farther back than most. Not because he wanted to. Because he did not know where he belonged. Publicly he was a genin under special assignment. Privately he was ANBU. Emotionally he was just a boy who had lost one of the only people who had ever tried, even imperfectly, to care. Sakura found him first. She walked over slowly, hands clasped in front of her, eyes softer than he remembered. You're hiding, she said. Naruto kept his gaze forward. Habit. She looked at the line of mourners. I don't think anyone would mind if you stood closer. Naruto's mouth twitched. That's not what I'm worried about. Sakura glanced at him. Then what are you worried about? Naruto was quiet for a long moment. Then he answered honestly. That if I go up there, it'll feel real. Sakura's breath caught. For once she did not rush to fill the silence. She simply stood beside him. Not speaking. Not asking for more. Just staying. A few steps away, Kakashi watched the exchange with one eye and felt that same regret twist deeper. For all his skill, for all his experience, he had somehow missed the obvious. Naruto had not needed more orders. He had needed someone to stay. Sasuke arrived later, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. He stood on Naruto's other side without asking. No greeting. No explanation. Just presence. Naruto looked at him once, surprised. Sasuke kept his eyes forward. Don't make a big deal out of it. Naruto huffed softly. Wasn't planning to. It was the closest thing to comfort Sasuke knew how to give. And somehow, Naruto understood that. When the coffin was lowered, the entire village bowed their heads. Naruto did not. He stared straight ahead, jaw locked, eyes burning. You said I could choose where I belong one day. The thought ached. So why does it still feel like every place I stand gets taken away from me? The rain started just as the ceremony ended. Light at first. Then steady. Most people left quickly. Naruto stayed until the last flower on the memorial stone was soaked through. That night, he put on his ANBU mask and requested a mission. Ibiki denied it immediately. No. Naruto stood in the office, fully geared, face hidden. I'm cleared for field work. Ibiki did not even look up from the report in his hand. No, you are not. Naruto's voice sharpened. I said I'm ready. Ibiki finally raised his eyes. No, he repeated, colder this time. You are grieving and angry, which makes you reckless. Reckless operatives die. Naruto stepped forward. Then give me something that lets me hit back. Ibiki stood. And just like that, all the air in the room seemed tighter. You think death is something you solve by stabbing another target? He asked. You think because your chest hurts, the answer is blood? Naruto's hands shook at his sides. I think sitting still is making it worse. Ibiki's expression changed just enough to let something human through. Yes, he said quietly. It usually does. Naruto looked away. That answer robbed him of some of his anger because it was not rejection. It was understanding. Ibiki walked around the desk. When he spoke again, his voice was lower. I know what you are trying to do. You are trying to turn pain into motion because motion feels useful. He stopped in front of Naruto. But if you go out like this, you will not be useful. You will be sloppy. You will be cruel. And afterward you will hate yourself even more. Naruto swallowed hard. I don't know what I'm supposed to do then. Ibiki's eyes held his. Endure tonight. That sounded impossible. Maybe because it was. But Naruto nodded anyway. The next morning, Jiraiya dragged him out of bed by the ankle. Up. Naruto, half asleep and immediately furious, kicked at him. Die. Not before breakfast. Jiraiya yanked him fully off the mattress. We're leaving. Naruto blinked blearily at him from the floor. Leaving for what? To find the next Hokage. That woke him up. What? Jiraiya folded his arms. The village needs Tsunade. The elders are panicking. The council is circling. And before you ask, yes, I'm taking you. Naruto stared. Then narrowed his eyes. Why me? Jiraiya's expression sobered. Because Hiruzen asked me to keep you moving if this day ever came. That hit harder than Naruto expected. For a second he couldn't answer. Then he got up. Fine, he muttered. But if you peek on women in hot springs, I'm leaving you behind. Jiraiya grinned. See? Spirit's not dead after all. The journey gave Naruto something he had not had in a long time. Space. Not comfort. Not peace. But distance from the village noise, the funeral smoke, the empty tower. He and Jiraiya moved fast between towns, stopping only when they had to. Sometimes Jiraiya trained him. Sometimes he just made him eat more than Naruto wanted to. Sometimes, late at night by campfires, the older man would talk about Minato without calling attention to it, slipping in stories that sounded casual until Naruto realized halfway through that they were about his father. He once beat 3 IWA squads before lunch, Jiraiya said one evening. Naruto looked up from the fish he was burning. Seriously? Jiraiya smirked. The man was terrifying. Polite. But terrifying. Naruto tried not to let how much that mattered show on his face. What was my mom like? The question came out before he could stop it. Jiraiya's expression softened into something warmer. Loud, he said immediately. Explosive. Scary when angry. Absolutely impossible to ignore. Naruto stared for 1 second. Then pointed at himself. So I got all the subtle traits. Jiraiya burst out laughing. That laugh echoed through the trees and for just a second the grief in Naruto's chest loosened. Only a little. But enough. 3 days later, the training got ugly again. Jiraiya tossed him another rubber ball. Again. Naruto growled. I've been doing again for 3 straight days. Then do it 3 more. Naruto glared at the ball in his hand, then pumped chakra into it until the surface bulged and distorted. The first stage of the Rasengan had nearly driven him insane. Rotation. Constant rotation. Tight and violent. Harder than it looked. The second stage was worse. Power without bursting the shell too early. Controlled destruction. Ordinary training method? Awful. Naruto method? Clones. Lots of clones. Too many clones. So many clones that Jiraiya started looking at him like some kind of walking battlefield violation. You are not supposed to exploit training this way, the Sannin muttered as 3 Narutos argued over water temperature, 2 more tested burst pressure, and another one sat nearby taking notes because Yugo had forced Naruto to start actually recording progress. Then invent less broken jutsu, Naruto shot back. He focused harder. The ball in his palm trembled. Spun. Pushed outward. Then exploded in a spray of water. Naruto threw his head back. I hate this jutsu. Jiraiya grinned. Good. Hate makes progress. Naruto squinted. That sounds fake. It is, but it keeps you trying. A week later, while passing through Tanzaku town, Naruto's ANBU instincts saved both of them. He felt the killing intent before he saw the attacker. Down. Jiraiya moved instantly. A blade sliced through the space where his throat had been 1 second earlier. Naruto was already in motion, shadow clones bursting into the alley from smoke, forcing the assassin backward. Not a missing nin worth a bingo page entry. Just hired muscle with decent chakra suppression and terrible luck. The man sneered. The old man's not the target. The brat is. Naruto's eyes went cold. That was all the warning the attacker got. 1 clone hit low. Another blocked the retreat path. The real Naruto moved through the narrow dead angle between the man's guard and elbow like water slipping through a crack. Kunai to wrist. Palm to ribs. Heel behind knee. Down. The assassin hit the wall so hard he coughed blood. Naruto's blade stopped at his eye. Who hired you? The man laughed, even through the pain. You think I know? Just a job on a blonde leaf rat. Naruto pressed the kunai a fraction closer. Jiraiya landed beside him, watching with narrowed eyes. The assassin's smirk faltered. Because the blonde boy holding the blade was not shaking. Not shouting. Not angry in the loud, childish way people expected. He was silent. Focused. Terrifying. The man swallowed. Bounty board in the border town, he croaked. That's all I know. Naruto stared at him for 2 more seconds, then slammed him unconscious with a chop to the neck. Jiraiya let out a slow breath. That was efficient. Naruto wiped the blade and stood. He came to kill me. Welcome to being important, Jiraiya said dryly. Naruto's mouth flattened. Doesn't feel important. Jiraiya's gaze rested on him for a moment. No. It never does. The first time they found Tsunade, she was drunk. Very drunk. She sat in a gambling hall surrounded by cups and shattered tempers, having already cleaned out 3 tables and insulted 2 rich men so badly one nearly cried. Shizen stood nearby with the exhausted face of a woman who had seen this exact disaster many times before. Naruto stared. That's the legendary medical genius? Tsunade looked up slowly, eyes half-lidded, and immediately frowned. Why is there a child in black combat boots judging me? Naruto crossed his arms. I wasn't judging. I was disappointed. Jiraiya barked out a laugh. Shizen buried her face in her hand. Tsunade narrowed her eyes, then looked Naruto up and down more carefully. Something in her expression shifted. Not recognition. Assessment. You move like an execution squad trainee, she said. Naruto's eyes sharpened instantly. Jiraiya's grin faded. Tsunade smirked around her sake cup. Oh, interesting. I touched a nerve. Naruto's voice went flat. You wanted something? Jiraiya stepped in before the mood got worse. We want you back in Konoha. Tsunade's face soured immediately. Then you wasted your trip. What followed was ugly. Not in action. In emotion, Jiraiya spoke about duty. Tsunade mocked the village. Naruto, already worn thin by grief and weeks of carrying too much inside him, finally snapped when she laughed at the title of Hokage. "You don't get to say that," he said. The gambling hall quieted. Tsunade turned slowly. "Excuse me?" Naruto stepped forward. "You don't get to laugh at that title like it's worthless." Her eyes hardened. "And why not?" "Because an old man died wearing it." Because Naruto had spent his whole life chasing it like a starving kid chasing sunlight. Because no matter how much pain Konoha gave him, that dream was the one thing no one had taken yet. Because people die for it, Naruto said. Silence spread between them. Tsunade stood. Now everyone in the room could feel the weight of who she really was. "Careful, brat." Naruto did not back down. "You're the one being careless." Jiraiya muttered, "Here we go." Tsunade walked closer until she towered over him. "You think you understand the Hokage?" Naruto's fists clenched. "I understand enough." No, her voice turned sharp. "You understand a child's version of it. The stupid version. The version with big smiles and no graves." That hit hard. Because it was close enough to truth to hurt. Naruto's jaw tightened. "Then teach me the real version." Tsunade blinked. Jiraiya blinked too. Naruto's eyes did not waver. "Teach me," he said again. "Or stop mocking people who carried it when you wouldn't." Shizun's jaw dropped. The room went dead silent. Tsunade stared at him with open disbelief for one long second. Then, to everyone's shock, she smiled. It was not warm. It was dangerous. "Fine," she said. "Prove your conviction." 1 week. Master a jutsu from him. She jerked her thumb at Jiraiya. "If you can do that, I'll admit you're more than a loudmouth kid chasing a title." Naruto's expression hardened with immediate determination. "What jutsu?" Jiraiya slowly pulled out a water balloon. Tsunade looked at it. Then at him. Then back at Naruto. "Oh, that's cruel," she said. It was cruel. The week that followed nearly killed Naruto's hands. Rotation. Power. Containment. Compression. Again. 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 His clones worked until they vanished. He worked until his fingers cramped and his palm skin peeled raw. One night he collapsed against a tree after dispersing 30 clones at once and nearly blacked out from the memory backlash. Jiraiya crouched beside him. "Take a break." Naruto, face pale and covered in sweat, laughed weakly. "That sounds fake coming from you too." Jiraiya sighed. "Kid." Naruto looked at his hands. They were trembling. So was the rest of him. "What if it's not enough?" he asked quietly. Jiraiya's expression shifted. "Not joking now. Not teacher. Something softer." "It won't bring Hiruzen back," he said. "It won't fix what the village did. It won't erase the years you lost." He paused. "But it will be yours. Something no one handed you. Something no one can take." Naruto stared at the ground. Then slowly nodded. The next morning, he tried again. By the 7th day, the air around him felt electric. Tsunade, Shizun, and Jiraiya stood in the clearing while Naruto faced a stone outcrop near the edge of the training ground. His hands were bandaged. His eyes had dark circles. His breathing was steady only because he was forcing it to be. Tsunade crossed her arms. "Well." Naruto lifted his right hand. A rubber ball burst. A second water balloon spun. A third shell of chakra held. Then, with a sound like wind being crushed into a single point, chakra spiraled into his palm. Blue. Violent. Contained. The Rasengan formed. Shizun's eyes widened so much she nearly dropped Tauntaun. Jiraiya's grin went wide and proud. Tsunade's jaw did not drop. But only because years of legend and discipline kept it from doing so. Naruto charged. The Rasengan screamed in his hand. He slammed it into the stone outcrop. The impact was monstrous. Rock exploded outward. Dust blasted through the clearing. The entire formation behind the point of contact shattered in a circular wave, leaving a crater that spidered deep into the earth. Silence. Then Naruto staggered back, panting hard, staring at the damage. He looked at his hand. I did it. Jiraiya laughed out loud. You insane little monster, you actually did it. Shizen looked from the crater to Naruto and back again. In 1 week. Tsunade did not move for several seconds. Then she looked at Naruto with something far more serious than skepticism. She saw the bandaged hands. The determination. The grief still behind his eyes. The way he stood like someone taught to guard every direction at once. And suddenly all the rumors, all the hints, all the shadows around him clicked together. This was not a village brat playing at greatness. This was a boy sharpened by neglect into something dangerous. But the part that shook her most was not the jutsu. It was that he still used that strength to protect. You really are chasing that title, she murmured. Naruto looked up. Yeah, he said. I am. Before Tsunade could answer, slow clapping echoed from the trees. Kabuto Yukushi stepped into the clearing with a soft smile. Behind him, killing intent rolled like poison. Orochimaru emerged from the shadows. Jiraiya's expression went instantly cold. Tsunade's eyes narrowed. Naruto's entire body shifted into combat stance without conscious thought. Orochimaru smiled at the reaction. There he is. My favorite little surprise. Naruto's voice was flat. I told you no once already. Kabuto adjusted his glasses, amused. Confident. That's new. Jiraiya stepped forward. Back off. Orochimaru's golden eyes never left Naruto. I merely came to speak with Tsunade. But seeing him here, his smile widened. How fortunate. Naruto could feel the fear they expected from him. He ignored it. Instead, he made a single hand sign. Shadow clones burst into the tree line, instantly spreading, instantly preparing angles. Kabuto's smile faltered. Orochimaru's eyes sharpened. There it was again. That ANBU instinct. That refusal to be prey. Interesting, Kabuto murmured. The battle erupted without another word. Kabuto moved first, targeting Naruto as the perceived weak point. That mistake lasted half a second. Naruto pivoted around the chakra scalpel strike, took the shallow cut it created on purpose, then used the opening to slam his elbow into Kabuto's wrist. 2 clones hit from blind spots. A third launched wire around Kabuto's ankle. Kabuto slipped the first, shattered the second, and dodged the third, but Naruto was already underneath him with a palm strike aimed at the liver. Kabuto blocked. And still got driven back 3 full steps. His eyes widened. He got stronger again. Across the clearing, Jiraiya and Orochimaru clashed with devastating force while Tsunade hesitated only one breath before joining in, her choice finally made. Naruto and Kabuto broke into a deadly dance of speed and precision. Kabuto smiled thinly. You're good. But you're still a child. Naruto's expression did not change. You're still talking. He vanished. Kabuto spun. Too late. 3 clones detonated into smoke around him, blinding the angle of attack, and Naruto came through the center with a kunai slash meant to sever hamstrings. Kabuto barely leaped clear. Naruto pursued relentlessly, no wasted motion, no shouting, no grandstanding. Every move was built to end the fight. Shizen, helping from the rear, saw it and felt cold. That was not genin combat. That was execution training. Kabuto felt it too. The boy was forcing him to take this seriously. Which meant the rumors were true. The fox-masked child. The hidden operative. The Jinchuriki who moved like death. Kabuto smiled, but now there was tension beneath it. Let's see how much your control really matters. His chakra scalpel flashed. Naruto took the hit across the side. Pain exploded through him. Kabuto smirked. Then froze. Naruto had allowed the strike. A clone popped behind Kabuto. Memory flash. The real Naruto stepped into range, Rasengan forming with terrifying speed in his palm. Kabuto's eyes went wide. No. Rasengan. The spiraling sphere smashed into Kabuto's abdomen and launched him backward like a ragdoll. Trees exploded on impact. The ground cracked beneath where he landed. Shizune gasped. Jiraiya actually laughed in savage disbelief. Tsunade's eyes widened, and this time there was no hiding it. Kabuto coughed blood, rolled, and stared at Naruto with complete shock. The blonde stood in the center of the clearing, panting, one hand dripping blood, the other still smoking with leftover chakra from the completed Rasengan. Orochimaru saw it too. And for the first time, genuine caution entered his face. The Jinchuriki was becoming a threat faster than expected. Enough, Orochimaru hissed. The snake Sannin unleashed a killing intent wave and a flurry of summoned serpents at once. Naruto's clones burst apart under the pressure, but the real Naruto stood his ground just long enough to drag Shizune clear of a strike that would have torn through her. Tsunade, seeing that, snapped the last of her hesitation away and crashed into Orochimaru with a monstrous punch that split the earth. The battle became chaos. Snakes. Exploding trees. Chakra blasts. Cratered ground. Naruto moved through it all like a shadow with blonde hair, intercepting strikes, feeding information through clones, adapting every second. When Kabuto tried to rejoin the fight from the flank, Naruto appeared from nowhere and drove a kunai through the sleeve of his shirt, pinning him to a tree by pure speed alone. Kabuto's breath caught. Naruto leaned close enough for him to hear. "If you stand up again," Naruto said softly, "I won't use a jutsu next time." Kabuto stared. Not because of the threat. Because of how calmly it was delivered. Naruto stepped away and rejoined the battle line. Kabuto remained pinned for one whole stunned second before tearing free. By the time Orochimaru finally withdrew with a furious promise of future interest, the clearing looked like a battlefield from a war story. Tsunade stood breathing hard, dust and blood on her face, staring at Naruto as if reassessing every assumption she had made. Jiraiya rested a hand on his hip and grinned tiredly. "Still think he's just a loud little brat?" Tsunade glanced at him, then back at Naruto. "No," she said quietly. "Not even a little." Naruto swayed. Then nearly collapsed. Shizune rushed forward. "You need medical treatment immediately." Naruto looked at the blood on his side, at the torn cloth, then at the direction Orochimaru had retreated. He looked scared, Naruto murmured. Jiraiya barked out a laugh. "Kid, after that Rasengan? He should be." Tsunade walked over and placed a glowing green hand against Naruto's injury. The pain eased slightly. Naruto looked up at her. "So," he asked, exhausted but stubborn. "You coming back?" Tsunade stared at him for a long second. Then she smiled. This time it was not dangerous. It was sad. Proud. A little amazed. "Yes," she said. "I'm coming back." The return to Konoha felt different. Not lighter. The village still carried scars. Buildings still needed repair. People still whispered. Hiruzen was still gone. But Tsunade's arrival sent a jolt through the entire place. Hope. Relief. Curiosity. And trailing behind the new Hokage candidate was Naruto Uzumaki, battered, silent, and now the subject of more rumors than ever. Some said he mastered a forbidden jutsu in a week. Some said he fought Orochimaru and lived. Some said the hidden ANBU operative had a fox mask and blonde hair. Some said the old deadlast had become a monster. The truth, for once, was somehow even more dramatic than the rumors. When Tsunade was officially named 5th Hokage, Naruto stood on a distant roof and watched the ceremony in silence. He thought he would feel happier. He did feel something. But it was tangled. Victory and grief mixed together. The old man was gone. The village had a new leader. And Naruto still did not know if he belonged in the light or the dark. Brooding already? He turned. Tsunade stood on the roof entry ledge, arms folded. Naruto looked away. Wasn't brooding. She snorted. You kids always say that when you're clearly brooding. Naruto shrugged. Tsunade walked beside him and looked out over the village. For what it's worth, she said after a moment, Hiruzen was proud of you. Naruto froze. Tsunade continued before he could speak. He said the village kept trying to decide what you were, but one day it would realize too late that you had already decided for yourself. Naruto's throat tightened. He did not trust his voice right then. So he stayed quiet. Tsunade glanced sideways at him. You don't have to keep carrying everything alone just because you learned how. That one landed harder than all the praise. Naruto let out a slow breath. I don't know how to stop. Tsunade's expression softened. Then start small. Naruto frowned. That's a terrible instruction. Worked for your Rasengan. He huffed despite himself. And Tsunade smirked because that sound, small as it was, meant the boy was still in there under all the black steel and scars. Weeks passed. Konoha rebuilt. The public Naruto and the hidden Naruto kept colliding more and more. Sakura started training under Tsunade and found herself measuring every step against the image of Naruto standing over Gaara and later standing bloodied after driving Kabuto back. It no longer felt ridiculous to imagine becoming stronger. Naruto had made impossible things look reachable through sheer stubborn effort. Kakashi requested more direct involvement in Naruto's field growth. Tsunade denied half of it, allowed some of it, and made it clear that Naruto's record was not fully open for discussion. Kakashi accepted that, but the knowledge gnawed at him. Sasuke got stronger. Faster. Sharper. And every improvement only made the gap feel stranger. Because now when he looked at Naruto, he no longer saw the boy he used to dismiss. He saw a target he could not read. A rival he had not noticed becoming dangerous until it was too late. And that ate at him. One evening on the hospital roof, after a training accident left both boys bruised and irritated, Sasuke finally said it aloud. You changed too much. Naruto, leaning against the railing with one arm bandaged, looked over at him. That's usually what happens when years pass. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. You know that's not what I mean. Naruto studied him for a second. Then looked back at the village lights. You want the truth? He asked. Sasuke said nothing. Naruto's voice lowered. It hurt, he said. For a long time. Then I got tired of being hurt in ways that didn't help me. His expression hardened slightly. So I made it useful. Sasuke stared. Because that answer felt uncomfortably close to his own path. Only different. Naruto had pain too. Naruto had loneliness too. Naruto had lost too. And somehow he was still standing on the side of protecting people. Sasuke looked away first. That doesn't make sense. Naruto almost smiled, but it never fully formed. No, he said. It doesn't. 3 months later, the missions grew darker. Naruto returned to ANBU support under Tsunade's supervision, now with more autonomy than ever before. Border suppression. Counterintelligence. High-risk escorts. Quiet removals of threats before they reached village walls. And with every mission, the reputation grew. He became a story told by enemies in low voices. A flash of blonde under a fox mask. A whisper in the dark. A blade at the throat before the warning cry could leave the mouth. One cloud missing Nin, captured alive only because Naruto wanted information, stared at him across the interrogation room and laughed nervously. "You're that ghost," the man said. Naruto sat in silence. The prisoner swallowed. "They said if the fox mask finds you, don't run." Ibiki, observing from the corner, watched Naruto carefully. "What did they say instead?" he asked. The prisoner licked dry lips. "Pray he was sent for someone else." Ibiki's scarred face gave away nothing. Inside, a cold sort of approval settled. Naruto had crossed the line from operative to legend. And legends were useful. But dangerous. Especially when they were still this young. After the session, Ibiki dismissed the guards and looked at Naruto for a long moment. "You are becoming exactly what they feared." Naruto removed his gloves slowly. "A monster?" Ibiki's expression did not change. "A consequence." Naruto considered that. Oddly, he liked it more. Still, the emotional wounds never vanished completely. Sometimes Naruto passed through the market in daylight and caught old looks from villagers who had not changed at all. Sometimes he saw children point at him and ask their parents who he was, only to be pulled away before they could hear an answer. Sometimes he returned from a mission covered in blood that was not his and sat alone on the Hokage monument until sunrise. And on those nights, the question always came back. If I became strong enough to protect everyone, why do I still feel like no one knows me? The answer did not come. Not fully. But pieces of it did. In Sakura leaving food outside his training room when she knew he skipped meals. In Kakashi arriving on time for once when they trained together on rare afternoons. In Tsunade yelling at him for fighting on cracked ribs because he was too valuable to be stupid. In Jiraiya casually showing up with travel snacks and worse advice. In Sasuke never admitting respect, but no longer hiding the fact that he measured himself against Naruto every time they sparred. It was not perfect. It was not enough to erase the old wounds. But it was real. And that made it dangerous in a different way. Because now Naruto had something to lose. The night it all started to break again, the village was quiet. Too quiet. Naruto knew that feeling. He had just returned from an outer border interception mission and was moving across the rooftops, half in uniform, half in shadow, fox mask hanging at his side. The moon was high. The air was cool. Konoha slapped. Then an ANBU hawk swept low and dropped a sealed message into his hand. Emergency priority. Naruto landed on a tower beam and opened it. His eyes narrowed immediately. Hospital disturbance. Uchiha Sasuke missing from room. Possible hostile involvement. Naruto's pulse kicked once. Hard. He vanished. By the time he reached the hospital rooftop, broken railings and faint chakra signatures told the story before anyone did. Kakashi stood near the edge, late by seconds instead of minutes for once, visible eye dark with concern. Sakura was there too, breathing hard, looking terrified. "Naruto," Kakashi said the moment he arrived. "Did you see him on your route?" Naruto scanned the rooftop. "No." "What happened?" Sakura's voice shook. "He was here. Then he was gone. There were four weird shinobi. Sound Village maybe. I got here too late." Naruto crouched near the broken section of wall and touched the stone. Residue. Not standard sound. Cursed chakra. Harsh. Twisted. His expression changed. Kakashi saw it immediately. "You know something." Naruto stood slowly. "I know recruitment when I smell it." Sakura's face went pale. "You mean Orochimaru?" Naruto did not answer right away. He looked toward the forest beyond the walls. And in that silence, the answer became obvious anyway. Kakashi's gaze sharpened. "Can you track him?" Naruto's hand closed around the fox mask at his side. "Yes." Sakura stepped forward instantly. "Then we go now." Naruto looked at her. Then at Kakashi. Kakashi's voice was low and serious. If the Sound Four are involved, this is no ordinary retrieval. Naruto's jaw tightened. Because buried under all the anger, all the rivalry, all the distance that had grown between them, one truth remained. Sasuke was still his teammate. Still someone he had bled beside. Still someone he refused to let disappear into darkness without a fight. Naruto lifted the fox mask and tied it into place. The porcelain settled over his face like a second skin. When he looked up again, even Sakura felt a chill. Not because she was afraid of him. Because she knew now what their enemies felt. The village's most feared young operative was awake. And he was angry. "I'm bringing him back," Naruto said. Far beyond the walls, in the black forest under a cold moon, Sasuke Uchiha stood between four sound shinobi and a coffin-like barrel pulsing with cursed energy. He looked back only once. Toward Konoha. Toward everything behind him. Then footsteps sounded on the branch above. A masked figure landed without a whisper. Fox mask. Blonde hair moving in the night wind. Sasuke's eyes widened. Naruto looked down at him from the branch, one hand resting on a kunai, blue eyes burning through the mask. And the Sound Four, who had underestimated many things tonight, finally understood from the silence alone that the monster rumors had just become real. Hope you guys enjoy this part of this story. Do like, share and subscribe.